And we're at 103. Want to make sure we have enough time to get through our agenda. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Title V Town Hall. We know how busy your campuses are right now, so we really appreciate you carving out this time to navigate these significant changes with us. For those of you who may be new to our circle for CPD, the California Community College Council for Professional Development, a mouthful, we have a long history of advocacy. Since the 1980s, we've grown from a small group of practitioners into a statewide nonprofit who's dedicated to one thing, and that's supporting the people who support our students. 4CPD believes in community, it believes in community voice, and we believe that when regulations change, like the Title V calendar updates that we're discussing today, we shouldn't have to figure them out in isolation. We also want to acknowledge the context of this moment. With shifting regulations and staffing changes for many campuses across our system, we know that many of you are really feeling the weight of doing more with less. So 4CPD is committed not to just to give you technical guidance, but it's also space for empathy and care. Later today, before you leave, we're going to ask you for your input on how we can best support you through burnout mitigation and peer-to-peer connection. You're not just practitioners to us, you really are the heartbeat of our colleges. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Marisol. She is going to introduce our speakers for today.
Thanks, Anya. Hi, everyone. I'm Marisol Quevedo. I am from the College of San Mateo. And it's really my pleasure to introduce our guest today from the California Community College's Chancellor's Office. So today we're joined by Deans Jessica Fagan and Raul Arambula, and they'll be sharing more about the information about the Title V changes. We'll get into a Q&A with some pre-drafted questions that were developed using the variety of questions that you all provided. So thank you for submitting those pre-questions because that's what's going to shape the Q&A. And with that, I will pass it off to them. So Jessica and Raul, thank you for being here. Oh,
Thank
also we have
you.
a brief agenda. You can see it there. Sorry, go ahead, Jessica.
No, you're fine. Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Fagan. I am a new Dean of Academic Affairs for the Chancellor's Office. I have been with the Chancellor's Office for about 4 months now, but one of the reasons I'm here is because I am helping to coordinate the professional development efforts as they relate to teaching and learning, so specifically in the faculty realm. And as you can all imagine, there are many different areas who provide professional development to our faculty, and my efforts are really in trying to collect all of that information and coordinate how it's distributed to the system. So thank you for having me today. And then Raul.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Raul Arambula. I'm Dean over Curriculum Instruction, and I'm here because I oversee Flex Calendar. And I was part of the work group that did the Title V changes and did the updates to the Flex manual. So it's great to be here with everybody.
Did you guys want us to just get started on our slides, or did you have more?
That would be great. Yeah, if you want to get
Yeah.
started on your slides, and
Yeah,
then when you're done, we'll jump into those pre-drafted questions. Thank you.
perfect. So I'm going to share screen then. Okay. So again, thank you for being here today. Just a little bit of background. In 2024, the Chancellor's Office established a collaborative work group that included representatives from the Academic Senate, our CIOs, the California School Employee Association, and the California Community College Council for Professional Development, and staff from the Chancellor's Office. The purpose of this work group was to review and revise the Flex Calendar regulations to better align with the Vision 2030 goals and to promote equitable professional development opportunities for all campus staff. So part of those revisions that took place, you can see here we've summarized. A lot of this is repetitive because it's changing slight language revision across all of these areas. So section 55720, you can see that now it includes all campus staff, full-time faculty, part-time faculty, classified student employees, and administrators in professional learning. In 55724, it includes all campus staff again. So again, this is the same revision. There's also cleaned up language that aligns with Vision 2030 and current professional language standards. 55726 includes the same language, and there's again cleaned up language that aligns with Vision 2030 and current professional language standards. So again, these are just some of the revisions to the language. You're going to see a lot of the same flexible calendar attendance reporting. So the language was added to specify full-time and part-time faculty. In 55729, they cleaned up the language again to align with Vision 2030. In 55730, reporting was extended from annually to every 3 years. So that's a pretty significant change in terms of reporting. And then in 55732, they also cleaned up the language. So these are just the smaller pieces of what the language changes are, but the action items for you are pretty much the same with a few changes. So revise bargaining agreements as needed, continue developing professional learning agreements, review and update advisory committee composition as needed because there's more of a focus on faculty inclusion. Integrate professional learning into equity and student success plans, and conduct next needs survey, which is going to be a 3-year cycle instead of that annual cycle. The other piece is the flex guidelines. So they have been updated with that work group and they are currently in remediation. Raul, is there any update on when they'll be published? Because I know we're going to be asked about that.
No, I apologize. So it is with communications. Communications is always overloaded. So I would probably, and this is being on the safe side, a minimum of 2 months. It just because they're always so behind.
Mhm.
So we're in March. I would say May, more like June, for the manual to come out.
Mhm. Thank you. And really, those are the big changes. That was what was communicated to the board, and with that, the guidelines coming out when Raul said June or July. So I know there's a list of questions that Raul is going to be happy to answer for you. So I'm
I'm
going
here,
to.
hopefully, hopefully.
Raul says, do your worst. So I'm going to stop sharing because I know you have those questions on your slides.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thank you for those updates. So the questions are sort of chunked out into 3 different sections. So this section is mandates and requirements. So one of the questions is it now mandatory for colleges in the flexible calendar program to offer flex time for classified staff, administrators, and student workers, or is it still optional?
It is mandatory now. It's in Title V. That was the additions we put. So yes, for all college staff, they are to be part of flex time.
Okay. And so how many professional learning hours are specifically required for classified staff?
That's a local decision.
Okay.
And I apologize if I say that a lot, but unfortunately, it's probably going to be a lot of my answers. It's just a lot of this we need to leave up to the local campus and local bargaining units. And that number 2, that's where you would figure that one out.
Okay. The third question, will the reporting requirements for flex obligations change for the current year?
You will not have to do it this year. Since the Title V took effect, you will not have to do it for 3 years. Jessica and my staff and I plan on working on what we will be requiring in 3 years. That way we can actually send out a template and let colleges know what to be looking for. So that's way you don't get blindsided in reporting in 3 years and you're actually gathering data that we would want. So give us until about the end of summer and hopefully we can get that to all the campuses. Like I said, at least a general outline of the kind of questions we will be asking or the data we'll be asking for.
There's a clarifying question. So Shannon's asking, so when you say it's mandatory, do you mean it's mandatory to invite non-faculty, or
To invite,
mandatory
yes,
that
they
they
need to be
participate?
included. Yes,
Okay,
they
they
need to
need.
be included.
Okay. Thank you. Can we go to the next set of questions? Thank you. So the next set of questions are around funding and resources. So will there be one
Unfortunately,
time?
no.
Okay.
Unfortunately, no. But and we put this in, and you're going to see it in the manual. A lot of the funding we provide to the colleges can be used for this area. Jessica can give examples on her side. Common course numbering being one on my side. We give the colleges a lot of funding for different areas, and those are available to use in these areas. And we hope to clarify that in the guidance manual. And we gave one example. It was a OER, Jessica. I believe it was OER, correct? Funding.
Yes,
So again,
we added
the funds
OER
are
too.
there.
Hmm.
It's up to your college to, unfortunately, determine which resources go where, as you guys all know. But a lot of that funding can be used for professional development.
Okay, so no new funding specifically for these changes.
Unfortunately, not specifically for this area, no.
Okay, thank you. There is a follow-up question around the tracking of the flex hours. So the mandatory, so will colleges have to track flex hours for classified staff, or is that also a local decision?
Local decision.
Okay, thank
Because the only
you.
thing in Title V, it actually just refers to faculty and what point 8.75%. But other than that, anyone else, that's a local decision.
Okay, thank you. And just acknowledging a comment in the chat, folks finding that accessing this funding is challenging, right?
And we heard that during the work group. That's again, we still made it general, but we try to point that out a little more directly that again, funds that we do provide to the colleges for most part can be used and be provided for PD. But
Okay.
if any of you need any aid in that area, you can always just email me and I can confirm it.
Okay, thank you for that. And so finally, just to wrap up the question around the former sort of set of questions we asked was, so as long as classified staff are invited or included in the flex hours, and if they decide that it's zero, right, that 0 hours are required locally, is that okay?
You just got to be part and gain
Just
offered the opportunity to attend.
okay, great. Thank you. All right, let's go to the next set of questions. So the next questions are clarification of guidance, right? So can the chancellor's office clarify if non-credit in the reporting systems refers to non-credit faculty or non-credit bearing workshops?
This goes on the fiscal side of reporting, so not really my area, but it is for non-credit faculty.
Okay. Um, when will the final definitive version of the revised guidelines be published and distributed? You shared that.
Yes.
Okay. So maybe May, but really looking at June, right?
Yes. Again, keep my fingers crossed, but probably more likely June, unfortunately.
Okay. Is the needs assessment cycle required annually or every 3 years?
Well, there is a requirement that colleges do a needs assessment themselves every year, but coming from our office, we will only be asking for that information every 3 years.
Okay.
So every year, colleges should be doing a self-evaluation.
Okay, great. Those are the set of questions. We do have a bit of time. Um, there's a question around needs assessment. So will there be more needs assessments happening statewide?
No, this is all locally done.
Okay. Matt added a question in the chat. I just want to ask Matt, do you feel like your question was answered? There was a question around mandatory meaning invited. I believe that was clarified.
Yeah, it was more just if so the hours are given, they negotiate 30 hours. It's not the negotiating group like Classify would still have the option whether or not they require those to be completed versus like our union currently has 30 hours that are up to 30 hours they can use for professional learning. They did that a few years ago, but they're not mandatory. Like if you Like our full-time faculty, if you don't do your 42 hours, you will get docked pay because it's a week. But would that also apply then to our new groups?
Mm, no, not the same in the faculty because I understand that because I'm adjunct faculty at Woodland and I have required for every unit I teach, I have to do an hour flex. So I understand that. So no, non-classified or any other staff is not required the way faculty is. If that's
Unless
what
they
your
wrote
local,
that into their, unless they
and that's
decided
the
to write
local
that into their
bargaining.
process.
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah, cool.
Thank you. Okay, so we have a little bit of time. Are you all okay, Jessica and Raul, to take more questions as
Yeah,
they're coming in?
yeah,
Okay,
no
great.
worries.
Okay. Pedro says, I saw that in the updated guidelines that part-time and full-time are allowed to report. What happens if the administrator is doing this reporting? Is that allowed?
And that's a local decision how reporting's done. We don't get involved in how who actually reports the information.
Okay, thank you. Um, the question, so Anya's asking, will the 3-year cycle be a summary of the 3 years or looking at each individual year?
Probably more of a summary. Again, the goal is for us to get together and kind of get a better idea of what specifically we're asking for over the summer. So again, we hope to have that information by the end of the summer, so you have a better idea of what to expect and again what data we'll be asking for. So give us until the end of summer.
Okay, thank you. When the report is asked every 3 years, will that include a question about the 3 years? So this is again with the needs assessment. Um, or do we need to do, sorry, the chat's moving, or do we need to do needs assessment and keep track of it for the 3 years to report it at the 3-year mark?
Again, every year the college should be doing a self-evaluation of how their flex PD is going. And then the goal is over those 3 years, which you'll be reporting to us, is accumulation of what you found in your findings. That's what we're hoping, and that's what we're probably geared to. But like I said, just kind of give us time to kind of figure out exactly what we'll be asking. But it's going to be an overall premise of what was done in those 3 years and what your findings were.
Great, thank you. We have two questions about sort of the folks that have, so the question is, in my district, we already invite classified to attend flex activities, but there's no requirement that they attend, and many want to attend but cannot due to their workload or student needs. So is there language, so does the new language require colleges to offer training during times when classified are more able to attend? And that's also asked in our Q&A, which is for districts that determine hours that are required, what recommendations would you have for those overnight employees whose shifts don't align with traditional flex activities?
Trying to look really quick if we added specific language. Um, yes, if you look at 55726 part 2, 1 and 2 does provide guidance into allowing all staff the ability to attend those even during work hours. Is
So
there a way to
theoretic
pull that up? Is there any way to pull that up? I can
access it and
share
share.
it.
Yeah, if you have access to it immediately, that would be, and you can share the screen, that would be great.
Yes. Oh,
Thank you.
and let me see. This is the what was presented to the Board of Governors, so you can actually see what was stricken out and what was there. Let me know if you can see my screen.
We can now. Yeah, thank you.
So activities during designated days. So right here, it talks about who's involved, and then it goes into the ability again for the normal to be substituted. So it is here in Title V that they
Okay.
should be given the opportunity to attend during work hours.
Okay. So theoretically, if someone is working the later shift where flex activities are typically not happening, there should be a workaround or should there be
Yes, there should be. Again, there needs to be an opportunity for these for all employees to attend. However, that works out at the local district, but they per Title V, you have to give them that opportunity.
Okay, great. Thank you. And thank you for folks for putting questions in the Q&A. It just helps with us monitoring sort of the questions that are being asked. I'm going to go to Christine's and then I'll go back to the chat. There's a question about a template for how the assessments will need to be submitted. Will we get a template for how those assessments will need to be submitted on the 3-year cycle? If so,
At
when?
least a broad outline. Again, at least a broad outline. We would hope by the end of the summer to get to all the colleges. That's the goal.
Okay, great. Thank you. The next question is, can you talk about what reporting will be pulled statewide from the Vision Resource Center and or any insights in the role of the VRC playing in all of this?
And no idea yet. That's something me and Jessica would have to talk about because, to be honest with you, that wasn't even part of our discussion when creating any of the Title V language or even updating the Flex manual was how much the VRC would be included in this. So we would have to have a discussion about it.
I
Understanding.
know we're throwing all these questions at you, so I just want to say thank you, right? As you're
Yeah,
kind of
no,
like trying to
no worries, right?
navigate these questions.
Right.
My understanding with the Vision Resource Center and like providing credit for the specific activities that are done there, or even CVC at one, is it's a local decision on how it's reported to them. So there's a ton of resources available, but you're locally they need to your college needs to decide whether or not they're going to accept you saying that you completed this 4-hour webinar video, or I know that at one, Garrick will sign off that you completed something if you need it. I've heard that before for different colleges. So that's something locally decided as well.
Thank you. There's sort of a question comment about questions around how could it sort of make sense that at a local decision could decide that there's 0 hours required for classified professionals, but how could that be in compliance with the law? Um,
Again, the idea we're not going to get involved in the bargaining unit. The only
okay,
understanding is through Title V is that everyone from the campus has to have the opportunity to attend. Now, how that's done locally, that's a local decision.
okay. So question for Matt, and then I'll go through these questions and I'll go into the chat. Now that the language has shifted to professional learning, is it now a mandate to change where we have development, right? So moving from professional development to learning. And for folks, it'll take time for them to understand, but should that new wording, so should things, the wording change?
So you would want to follow as much of the wording as possible in Title V, but it's not mandatory. It's more the content, if that makes sense,
Okay.
than getting into the weeds of the language.
So folks shouldn't anticipate that someone's going to come in 2 years and say, hey, you haven't changed your professional development committee to the professional learning committee, or you're not using this language, and they shouldn't anticipate that.
No, especially not coming from our end.
No,
Okay.
please do that. Please do that.
Okay.
Do it next month,
Right.
please. Thank you, though.
Welcome.
Is there a requirement for part-time faculty, or just as long as they're invited? So that kind of goes back to the classified question around flex.
Yeah, and that's bargaining unit because again, I'm adjunct faculty at Woodland and I have to. I have to do
Okay.
flex. It's a requirement. So it's a local bargaining decision.
Okay, thank you. Matt, that was answered already. Okay, again, thank you, Raul, as you're just kind of, getting all these questions
No
thrown at
worries.
you. Just going to go through to see. Um, so there's a question about the document that you shared. Is that public?
Yeah,
Uh,
go to the Board of Governors website.
okay.
Uh, well, last year, so 2025, I believe it was January, where I went to the Board of Governors for the second read is where you can find it. But it's on the Board of Governors website, 2025, I would want to say January, if not March.
Okay,
You would
great.
find
So
it. Yes, it's there. Yeah.
we'll throw it in the chat when we can find it. And if not, then we'll make sure that you all get access to it.
Yeah, and I
Um,
can actually email it to you also.
Yeah, Alex, hopefully that answers your question around documents being shared. That's really the only one that's been shared beyond the slides, that the intro slides. Um, Same thing about links. Can you talk about what reporting will be pulled statewide from the VRC or no, we already did that. Um, Great. And thank you, Erin. Erin has put the final revisions into the chat there. Another question. So there's a question about the request for approval section. A4 states that one of the things we have to address locally is how we will handle other duties as assigned by the district. This has often been the pushback on classroom professionals participating in flex activities. Is there any guidance from the chancellor's office on how we can support classified professionals to attend the campus when campus offices may still need to operate?
Uh, Unfortunately, that's locally. We won't probably provide any further guidance in that area. It's just, again, we just hope the campuses try to really take to heart what the focus and goal of these Title V changes were, meaning inviting everyone and able to participate. But that's probably all as far as we'll go on our end.
Great, thank you. And there was a question in the chat about a recording. We will be making this recording accessible after the session ends. So in the coming days, so look out for that. There is, let's see, sorry, I'm just going, I think we're close to the end of questionings. The questions, will there be a space for campuses to share best practices? We are one resource.
So I just don't know what other conferences are available. I know most of the one like the Curriculum Institute, maybe the ones the Academic Senate put on. I'm not sure what conferences are available for classified staff, but wherever we can, we would like to be able to present on this and provide the information needed.
Great, thank you. And we're saying yes, for CPD is also a resource to you all. And so you will have time in a little bit to offer some feedback and to see sort of, and we'll be sending you all a needs assessment so you can share more about what you would like to see and what support you would like to have. So a few more questions here before we let you off the hook. Will we be required to report specific attendance numbers and or who attended? Um, will that be, will the reporting
Uh,
be?
Off the top of my head, no. We, especially who, that's none of our business. Hours too. Off the top of my head, I would say no. Again, it's more the general overall consensus of how your PD has been assessed the last 3 years and what those outcomes have been.
Okay, thank you. Um, Sorry, there's another question of, can you share the answer again for this question? Can you talk about what reporting will be pulled statewide from the VRC and or any insights to the role in the VRC, which I believe you said that's not something that you talked about. So you don't, if you want to.
Right. On our end, we don't use much of the data from the VRC, but like Jessica said, we understand that colleges use it for their flex time. We would just expect probably that to be used in your reporting somehow. I mean, you mentioned how you use the VRC and in what methods. That's probably where it would be. Any information would come on our end.
Okay, great. And I think that two more questions,
No
unless
worries.
folks keep throwing in the chat. So
No
when
worries.
professional learning is being baked into local plans, is it the intention of just focusing on intentional learning and training in the plans that are designed, or is it more about depth? So moving away from compliance more to culture.
I would hope more to culture and not so much of just compliance and just checking off a box, but again, how it's locally developed and implemented, uh, we don't get involved in that. But again, the hope is the integrity of once you see the Flex manual, the Title V is really taking to heart at the campuses. But again, that's each individual campus to do.
Thank you. Rodrigo, the answer would be that it's a local decision, in the chat. Oh, can we get one more Q&A? That's a funny question, Matt. Will 4CPD become 4CPL? Asking for a friend. That's funny. Well, more to come on that. We'll see. All right, let's see. I think there might be one more. And so the last question is, would you be willing to come back and
Please. Always.
great,
Always.
thank you.
Yeah. Just anytime
Of
me or
course.
Jessica, because it kind of is falling more under Jessica's realm. But anytime you need any of us from the chancellor's office, you just let us know.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time. We do have a little bit more that we want to share with the group, but that's really it for Q&A. As we shared, we will make this recording available on YouTube, so you'll have access to that. But Raul and Jessica, you're welcome to stick around. But we do want to say thank you so much for being here, for your insights, and to take this on and to answer all of our questions. We do appreciate it.
Anytime. Like I said, thank you for having
Thank
me.
you.
Really appreciate it,
Yeah.
everyone.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Have a good
Bye.
one. Bye.
Bye.
Great. And before everyone else takes off and gets back to your busy day, we just want to say again, thank you all for being here. And a few quick notes, and we wanted to actually provide you a small questionnaire about what you want to see, but we also wanted to recognize, the impact a lot of recent staffing changes have had in our community colleges. And we know that we are committed to supporting and helping our community with empathy and care. And to that end, 4CPD is open to creating online spaces, communities, and sessions dedicated to professional development focused on burnout and mitigation, and creating mutual support for anybody who wishes to join. Because I know a lot of this sometimes is asking us to do more work, sometimes with little or no extra resources. And during a time when we're all feeling a lot of pressure, sometimes we just need to connect with others. So if this is something you'd like to see, just let us know using these needs assessment. We're going to pop right now into the chat. Also, we're going to probably deliver a future needs assessment about what you want to see through the rest of the year and leading up to another conference and moving into 2027. So your input is invaluable. We listen to you, and that's how we develop what we're doing. And if you found this informative, we invite you just to subscribe. That's where a lot of our emails are going to go out to. And if you want more information frequently, but less email blasts, you can find us on LinkedIn and in the VRC. So with that, we do want to say, please take that poll. We really appreciate you being here. And with that, we'll see the next one. I think we're going to stop recording, but we are going to stick around since we have some extra time. If you want to chat or if